He died on the 10-year anniversary of his racist rant being leaked online.
Stop saying rest in peace to Hulk Hogan. His mother was racist. Stop saying rest in peace to Hulk Hogan. His mother was racist. I mean, if you racist, you can say rest in peace to him. But to people that ain't racist, because he was racist as fuck. Don't y'all know that's the reason why the WWE terminated his mother contract and his was removed from the Hall of Fame section? Don't y'all remember that SEX tape that was leaked about him?
To really understand why the reaction to Hulk Hogan's death was so shocking, we need to go back in time. In 2015, the wrestling world and the wider public were rocked when leaked audio from a 2007 private tape became public. In that recording, Hogan used racial slurs several times, including the N-word. He even admitted, in his own words,
and we supported the fuck out of him. He was a piece of, supported the fuck out of him. He was a piece of, I did a sketch with him with Shaq. I met him through Shaq. That's before he said all this bull. And we were like Hulk Hogan fans. I don't wish anything on anybody. Death, I don't wish. But, you know, how am I supposed to feel that a racist mother is gone? Is that process of elimination? It's like, hey, is that letting nature take care of shit? Didn't he get booed at one of those conventions or whatever? He got booed. He went out like a sucker.
I am a racist. He was speaking about his discomfort with the idea of his daughter, Brooke, dating a black man. Those words didn't just sting, they burned. The impact was immediate. WWE, the company that built Hogan into a superstar, cut all ties with him. They ended his contract, erased him from their Hall of Fame, and scrubbed his name from nearly all official material.
Oh, so if you don't mind me asking, why?
Hating.
Okay.
Yeah. The racism, bro. Yeah. It's just hard to forget how detailed that rant was.
This wasn't just punishment. It was a clear message that the company had to protect its image and distance itself from racism. But what made the reaction from Black America especially powerful was how final it felt. Usually, when celebrities say or do something offensive, there's a cycle: outrage, apology, and eventually some kind of forgiveness. With Hogan, that never really came. The damage was deep.
So I remember just standing there like this with my hand out for about 20 seconds, and I just walked away, and I was like, him. I think what really was going on is that Hogan was putting a lot of pressure on Vince to take the belt and take it off me and put it on him. Otherwise, he was going to go to WCW. So I think it was our last. Vince just pulled the plug on me.
And for many black fans, there was no path back. Fast forward to Hogan's final public WWE appearance in January 2025. Wrestling journalist Master Tesfaye described how shocking it felt to be part of the crowd that booed Hogan. He admitted, "I never thought I'd see Hulk Hogan in person and end up booing him." That moment symbolized the split fans who once idolized Hogan now felt betrayed. Younger black Americans, in particular, were less forgiving. As one cultural commentator put it, they grew up learning a hard truth. Once you cross a certain line with white America, forgiveness is rarely given.
A human wrestling fan is an easy thing to manipulate. God bless you. You know what I mean? But it was, I mean, it's not like, well, I'm just saying, it's not like I could have done that whole Larry King live thing and like nobody in the WWE have okayed that. You know what I mean?
So why should they extend forgiveness to Hogan for such ugly remarks? The comparison was harsh, but honest. If white America never truly forgave O.J. Simpson despite his legal acquittal, why should black America forgive Hogan for his recorded racist words? The divide was also visible in how different groups responded to Hogan's passing. Conservative voices like Clay Travis spoke about him with sympathy, remembering the wrestler's cultural impact. Meanwhile, political commentator Roland Martin responded with a simple but cutting meme Hogan's racist quotes, captioned, "Same guy." For Martin and many others, there was no rewriting history. The man who once represented a larger-than-life hero had also openly revealed ugly truths.
No hesitation, Vince, when Hulk Hogan told me.
Because he heard that they were trying to unionize, and Jesse's body was like, somebody ratted on me. I was wondering who it was.
I wanted to know who ratted me in the locker room.
And, you know, I found out that it was Hulk Hogan. He was my friend.
Because he was my friend.
And those truths couldn't be erased. Perhaps the most painful reaction came from lifelong wrestling fans who grew up idolizing Hogan. For many of them, the betrayal cut the deepest. Kazim Famoud, co-host of the Ringer Wrestling Show, explained it best. You never really got the feeling that Hulk Hogan truly felt sorry. His apologies seemed hollow, his redemption incomplete. That sentiment echoed everywhere in black wrestling fandom. Fans didn't just remember the offensive words.
You should have bobbed instead of weaved on that. It was a pretty nasty black eye.
That was shot in the eye, so it was one of those really good black eyes that was pretty obvious when you see it. What happened to you? That doesn't look like makeup, that's for real.
It was that Savage and Hogan didn't get along.
Macho Man punched him, beat him up, but I wasn't there, so I don't know, but that was the story going around.
They remembered how the wrestling industry itself often ignored or exploited racial stereotypes. Freelance writer Lyric Swinton summed it up. Black fans often had to check their blackness at the door to enjoy wrestling. Hogan's words only made that truth louder, and it wasn't just about the 2015 scandal. Back in 2008, recorded phone calls from Hogan while his son was in jail showed him making more racist remarks.
I am all for people getting what they deserve. That's how I feel about Hulk Hogan getting booed on. If you are getting booed by the masses, there's a reason for it, all right? So I don't know if Hulk fully understands the scope, but people get what they deserve, so I'm happy to see it. I love this.
To many, this wasn't a mistake, it was a pattern. When WWE reinstated Hogan into their Hall of Fame in 2018, not everyone welcomed him back. The New Day Kofi Kingston, Big E, and Xavier Woods released a statement saying they felt indifferent. They wouldn't boo him, but they also wouldn't celebrate him. They made it clear they had no interest in standing with people who carried a negative and hurtful mindset. So, when Hogan died, Black America's response wasn't simply about losing a wrestling legend. It was about decades of frustration with racism in wrestling, in entertainment, and in society at large. As sports commentator Bomani Jones put it.
One of my most fond memories was the first time I ever saw him in person. I was not actually in the ring. It was before I got into wrestling. I was at a WWE show in St. Louis, Missouri at the Checker Dome. And when Hulk Hogan came out, he was in the main event, the roof just blew off the place. And that's when I decided, man, I would really like to be a professional wrestler, because be at the center of all that energy and everything was just amazing to me. Well, for me, he really took WWE to the next level and made it what it is today. So for someone like me, that opened up a lot of opportunities. So I think that virtually every person around my age, a little younger, a little older, Hulk Hogan was professional wrestling and always will be.
This was never going to be one where people were going to mourn quietly. Hogan's words lived forever online, and they guarantee that for many fans, unreserved mourning was impossible. Some wounds are too deep, some betrayals too personal to forgive. While the racial scandal defined much of Hogan's late legacy, it was only one part of a bigger picture. For decades, wrestlers had spoken out about Hogan's behavior behind the scenes.
What's up, man? Tonight's night, the very last night, you and The Rock have a shot at the NWO. We were drafted on SmackDown, they were drafted on Raw. Tonight's the very last night we have a shot to whoop their candy.
His politics, his ego, and his tendency to manipulate situations made him one of the most controversial figures in wrestling history even before 2015. Bret the Hitman Hart was one of Hogan's longest-running critics. Their feud dated back to the early 1990s. At WrestleMania 9 in 1993, Hart lost the WWF Championship to Yokozuna. But in a shocking twist, Hogan came out and beat Yokozuna immediately afterward.
It's been a rough week for those of us who came of age in the 80s. Malcolm Jamal Warner, of course, Ozzy Osbourne, and today, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon created sports entertainment. There's a reason that Netflix and Peacock and USA Network are bringing our shows on a weekly basis because of what they created back in the 1980s.
Hart later said he had been told Hogan would eventually drop the title back to him. Instead, Hogan refused. For Hart, it was the ultimate betrayal. He once joked in an interview that Hogan didn't know a headlock from a headlamp, showing just how bitter the rivalry had become. Shawn Michaels also had his share of issues with Hogan. Their 2005 SummerSlam match was supposed to be part of a series, but Hogan allegedly used his influence to cancel the rematch, ensuring he came out on top. Michaels' frustration showed in the match itself. He exaggeratedly oversold Hogan's moves in a way that mocked him in front of millions. The Undertaker revealed another telling story. In 1991, Hogan claimed that Undertaker's tombstone piledriver injured his neck. But when Undertaker later saw the footage, it was clear Hogan's head never even touched the mat. To many wrestlers, this was proof Hogan would lie or exaggerate if it benefited him. CM Punk, never one to stay quiet, once called Hogan a piece of garbage and a toxic presence in locker rooms, even though Punk never worked directly with him. Others, like Scott Steiner, were even harsher. Steiner openly called Hogan a cancer in wrestling and accused him of manipulating creative decisions to bury younger talent. Their feud escalated so much that Steiner was eventually banned from a WWE Hall of Fame event after a confrontation with Hogan's then wife. Even legends like Macho Man Randy Savage had complicated feelings. Their on-screen rivalry was legendary, but behind the scenes, Savage reportedly resented Hogan for overstepping boundaries with Miss Elizabeth, Savage's wife and manager. The racism scandal of 2015 only confirmed what many wrestlers of color already believed. MVP called Hogan a racist outright. Booker T, who once famously blurted a racial slur toward Hogan in a WCW promo, later admitted the slip came from genuine anger. Eric Bischoff, who worked closely with Hogan in WCW, admitted Hogan disliked working with younger talent like Billy Kidman, showing how unwilling Hogan was to share the spotlight. The criticisms weren't just about politics. Hogan also had a reputation for making outrageous and false claims. He once claimed he wrestled for 100 days in a year, said Metallica asked him to join as their bassist, and insisted Undertaker's piledriver nearly paralyzed him. All of these stories were proven false. To many wrestlers, Hogan wasn't just selfish, he was also a habitual exagger at or dot. So, when Hogan died, the reaction from the wrestling industry was strangely muted. While some gave respectful tributes, many avoided commenting altogether. The silence spoke volumes. Still, not everyone chose to focus on the negatives. We itself wasted no time honoring Hogan. On the July 25, 2025 episode of SmackDown, the company held a traditional 10-bell salute and ran a tribute show. This was the same company that had erased him years earlier. But in the end, WWE acknowledged that Hogan's contributions to the sport were too large to ignore. Some of the most emotional words came from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on Instagram. The Rock shared a childhood memory of catching Hogan's headband at Madison Square Garden in 1984. Hogan noticed and thanked him after the match, saying it was his last headband and that Johnson had saved it from being lost forever. For The Rock, it was proof of Hogan's ability to make small moments unforgettable. Now Glenn Jacobs, the mayor of Knox County, said he was inspired to become a wrestler after seeing Hogan live in St. Louis. When Hogan walked out, the roof blew off. I knew right then I wanted to be part of that energy. Mick Foley, Sergeant Slaughter, Ric Flair, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho, John Cena, Charlotte Flair, and many others also paid their respects. Each tribute reflected not just Hogan's controversial personality, but also his unmatched role in making wrestling a global phenomenon. Even Vince McMahon, whose history with Hogan included betrayal during the steroid trial of the 1990s, called him the greatest WWE superstar of all time. Notably, some critics like CM Punk and Bret Hart remained silent. Their absence was just as powerful as the tributes. Hogan's death was caused by cardiac arrest at his home in Clearwater, Florida. Emergency responders tried to revive him for about 30 minutes before rushing him to the hospital. His passing wasn't suspicious, just the result of years of physical toll and declining health. Hogan had undergone over 25 surgeries in the last decade, including a massive spinal operation just 2 months before his death. For Black fans especially, Hogan's passing wasn't just an end, it was also a beginning. It marked the end of feeling pressure to mourn someone who had hurt them, and the start of a more honest conversation about what kind of heroes wrestling should celebrate. Hulk Hogan will always remain a polarizing figure. To some, he was the man who made wrestling mainstream. To others, he was a reminder of how racism and selfishness can stain even the brightest legacies. Maybe that's the lesson wrestling needed. His death wasn't just about one man, it was about accountability, memory, and a demand for honesty in an industry that has often preferred to look away. And that's the full story: Hulk Hogan's life, legacy, controversies, and the way the world responded to his passing. A man who stood at the very top of wrestling, but also carried shadows that could never fully be erased, like this video. Click on the card showing on your screen for more stories that dive deep into wrestling's most shocking moments. In the end, Hulk Hogan's story is not simple. He was a superstar who brought wrestling into the mainstream, a larger-than-life figure who inspired millions. But he was also a man whose words and actions left lasting scars, especially in the Black community and among fellow wrestlers who knew the real person behind the character. His death forces us to look at both sides: the hero in the ring and the controversies outside of it. For some, he'll always be the face of an era. For others, he'll remain a reminder that fame doesn't erase accountability. What's clear is that Hogan's legacy will continue to spark debate for years to come. Thank you for watching. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to hear more untold stories from wrestling's past, click on the next video now.